Kazakhstan established and developed relationships with more than 140 countries worldwide. The country is a member of over 60 international organizations. Kazakhstan is an open and friendly partner, the initiator of the various integration processes in the world community, always ready to create the conditions for global dialogue. Today in the Global Talk program, the third meeting of the Astana Club, the issues and results of the discussion, the current cooperation between the United States and Kazakhstan, Astana Club, cooperation of the USA and Kazakhstan. Astana hosted a meeting of the Astana Club on the topic Great Eurasia 2017, Confrontation or Partnership. This year, the platform brought together foreign politicians, authoritative experts and diplomats for the third time. 60 participants from 29 countries, including former heads of state and ministries, headed by the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, discussed trends in the development of the entire Eurasian continent and tried to find ways to resolve acute issues. An excellent example of broad integration for the whole continent, according to President Nursultan Nazarbayev, is logistics.
Долгое время государства региона находились на периферии международного взаимодействия.
For a long time, the states of the regions were in the periphery of international cooperation because of their remoteness from the open seas. Not long ago, in 2011, Hewlett-Packard set out to establish direct railroad deliveries between China and Europe. This idea at the time looked like a real adventure. Today there are about 40 transcontinental routes. In the past 2 years, direct railroad deliveries from China to Afghanistan, Iran and Great Britain have been carried out for the first time. All this allows us to reposition the Eurasian region in a global context.
Все это позволяет по-новому позиционировать Евразийский район в глобальном контексте.
Also during the meeting of the Astana Club, the speakers discussed the militaristic moods around the world, the redistribution of global markets, taking into account sanctions wars, and possible ways of solving geopolitical conflicts. Meanwhile, Nursultan Nazarbayev said that Kazakhstan, with its initiative and experience of peacekeeping, is always ready to offer support. Kazakhstan diplomacy is inherent in the philosophy of dialogue, compromise and mutually beneficial partnership. This can be seen in the examples of mediation efforts in Syria, anti-nuclear initiatives, the contribution to the dialogue between cultures of civilizations, the development of socio-economic agendas. Foreign policy experts shared their vision and proposals for the transition to the next stage of the development of relations between Europe and Asia. From the point of view of Europe, for cooperation with the countries of Central Asia, we must go beyond the current situation. We must move from interaction to true partnership. Now we have an effective interaction, but we must do much more. This means that we must share information, disseminate it and exchange it. In the field of security and cybersecurity, ways of protection against internet abuse. If we do not exchange, then we will remain at the current level of simple interaction. Ex-Minister of Foreign Affairs, statesman of Italy, Mr. Franco Frattini, also delivered a lecture at the Kazakh State Law University during his visit to Kazakhstan. Representatives of the diplomatic corps, international organizations, as well as students and employees of the university took part in a discussion on the prospects for cooperation between the EU and the EAEU.
There's a debate going on now in Europe because the new strategy for Central Asia is being elaborated. So his opinion was that there are so many so many sectors of cooperation existing and potential that we should broaden in this new strategy the scope of cooperation, starting, for example, with the common fight against terrorism and extremism in general. We share many common goals and values. So the message from him was let's make this new strategy a broader one and deeper one for both our security but also economic interests, which are big, but of course still have a big potential to be exploited.
Updating the program document, the EU strategy for Central Asia is expected by the end of 2019. The U.S. Embassy in Kazakhstan took an active part in holding the Days of Women's Entrepreneurship in the country. The conference, aimed at stimulating the beautiful half of humanity to conduct its business, was held in Astana and lasted 2 days. At the same time, the same event took place in 150 countries.
Well, I'm very happy to be here today to be invited to speak at the Women's Entrepreneurship Day here, and also that our American diplomatic mission is supporting this event. This is a very important event because the United States as a government and as a people strongly supports the development of women in business, and particularly in entrepreneurship, because as we found in my own country, in the United States and around the world, that when women in countries get very active in business, it is a stimulus for economic growth and innovation, because it's a very large part of the population that is very creative, very confident of itself, and that just frankly doubles the amount of energy and activity and innovation that goes into stimulating economic growth.
This is the second conference this year. This time it has a special intriguing title, Butterfly Effect. According to its organizers, it symbolizes not always noticeable but very global contribution of each of the women in the development of entrepreneurship and in general the country. Even if today 1 or 2 women are inspired by the event, they initiate or open a business. In the development of our country, a certain contribution will be made to the development of our economy. Why? Because when you are an entrepreneur, you first become financially independent and stable. When you develop your business, you open up additional opportunities for other people, because you take employees. When you do, you can be more flexible in your schedule and rationally spend time both with your family and your business. The event was attended by 360 people, including already established business ladies, beginning entrepreneurs, as well as representatives of the United Nations, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, as well as educational institutions. Participants exchanged advice and experience. Our organization conducts programs in Kazakhstan to expand economic opportunities for women. We focus on socially vulnerable segments of the population and certain programs that we are working with the government of Kazakhstan, the Ministry of National Economy. These are programs of gender-sensitive budgets. Participants of the discussion during the conference voiced the current situation with the female presence in the Kazakh business. Despite the fact that 44% of small and medium-sized businesses in the Republic of Kazakhstan are headed by women, according to the World Bank's data, only 4% of the large corporate leaders are women. And that's not enough, of course. The gender pay gap in Kazakhstan is 33%.
Гендерный разрыв заработной платы в Казахстане составляет 33%.
However, there are already some results on the way of development of women's entrepreneurship in the country. 7 principles of women's empowerment developed by the UN Women's Structure in cooperation with the UN Global Compact now operate in Kazakhstan. To date, in Kazakhstan, 3 companies have signed this Women Empowerment Principles. This is very significant for Kazakhstan, because in other countries of Central Asia, there is not a single company that would sign the Women Empowerment Principles. Meanwhile, in the education of Kazakhstan, the proportion of women is significantly increasing. The example of Nazarbayev University was considered at the conference.
full-time MBA program, we have more women than men, which is very unusual around the world. In most business schools, they feel very fortunate if 30% of their MBA students are women. Here in Astana, it is more than 50%. So we're very fortunate that very talented women meet all of our very high criteria and are accepted to our business programs.
Effective business development tools for women are gradually being introduced in every region of the country. One such tool is the Women in Business program from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development.
Мы работаем по устранению гендерного неравенства, которое, к сожалению, еще остается в Казахстане, как и во многих.
We have existed since 2015 and allocated $41 million jointly with the government of Kazakhstan for lending for technical assistance to women entrepreneurs. And seeing the success of our program, today we received additional funding. Until 2021, the program will operate, and this is the amount of $51 million.
Мы получили дополнительное финансирование, до 2021 года будет программа существовать, и эта сумма $51 миллион США.
Initially, the action of this program was calculated until 2018. According to the representative of the project, Women in Business, from 2015 to date, 107 projects have already been launched. 97% of them are successful. Also, about 10,000 women received EBRD financing through their partners, second-tier banks.
We
have certain criteria, but the most important for the women's business, the first leader should be a woman. This should be a functioning business. The company must exist more than 2 years on the market. The company must be private. And according to our criteria, we do not work with producers of strong alcoholic beverages, tobacco, and gambling business. In the two-day conference, well-known business coaches, consultants, successful entrepreneurs, and representatives of public organizations also spoke. All of them shared their own stories, told how they achieved success, voiced modern trends in marketing. Much attention was paid to sore points. Is it possible to combine motherhood and career? How to overcome fears? A separate discussion was devoted to emotional intelligence and negotiation skills. All participants of the conference noted the high potential for the development of entrepreneurial trends among beautiful women of Kazakhstan.
There was a group of actually young women from Almaty that won a grand prize in the Silicon Valley of California in a technological innovation contest. And the United States this summer was able to support these young women to come, and they won the first prize. And their application that they developed was highly praised by the head of the famous company Google. So that was another way the United States is trying to develop these contacts between our countries.
Meanwhile, in support of women's entrepreneurship, the U.S. diplomatic mission in Kazakhstan held another event.
It was a seminar that we organized and supported at the American corner here in Astana, also devoted to women's entrepreneurship and discussing what are the types of tools that women can use in developing their ideas and realizing their ideas in the business world.
Cooperation between Kazakhstan and the United States covers a huge range of areas. According to official data, there are more than 300 U.S. companies in Kazakhstan. They invested about $50 billion in the country's economy, energy, technology, agriculture, and education.
I spoke at a forum that was again, an initiative of the Ministry of Education of Kazakhstan for developing contacts and partnerships between universities in Kazakhstan and in the United States. And so the American diplomatic mission helped and cooperated in that initiative by bringing over from the United States the representatives of many American universities as well as associations that are involved in educational contacts and partnerships.
According to Mr. Kroll, these are not the first initiatives of the parties in cooperation in this area.
And this is something that we already see, and we've encouraged, for instance, the University of Wyoming in the United States has been working for many years with Al-Farabi University in Almaty, starting with faculty exchanges, and they've increased that cooperation. And so this is an effort to involve other American universities, such as Washington State University, Penn State, and many American educational associations to partner with institutions in Kazakhstan.
Equally active in the interaction between the two countries is culture, especially considering the past exhibition of Expo and numerous accompanying events in the summer.
American cowboys coming to participate in the World Kokpar competition, which was very interesting, very exciting, and I think that's opened a new area of interest between the United States, as I think more Americans may become interested in this traditional sport in Kazakhstan of Kokpar. So there are so many things that we're doing with exchanges, with bringing cultural programs, and what we really want to do is to also engage in the regions of Kazakhstan. There's a very rich cultural life already in Astana and Almaty, but I think as we move to increase our outreach and the contacts between Americans and Kazakhstanis in the regions of Kazakhstan.
Another example of cultural exchange is the public lecture City of Gotham, an endless poem, from the educator and architect David Gersten from New York. The capital discussion was organized within the framework of the Cities and People program of the public site of the Urban Forum Almaty, with the support of the U.S. Consulate General in Almaty. We have good long-term relationships with the American Council. They first supported us when we invited an American expert professor to participate in our final big conference and give a master class. We all enjoyed this cooperation very much, and so after the American Council turned to us and proposed to start the program of the City and People to continue this dialogue, the dialogue of experts, the dialogue of urbanists, the citizens, active citizens of the United States of America and Kazakhstan, for them to share their experience.
Урбанистов или, скажем, даже горожан, активных горожан между Соединенными Штатами Америки и Казахстаном для того, чтобы обмениваться опытом.
It is worth noting that Astana is already the second city where David Gersten delivered his lecture. A little earlier, discussion on the same topic was held in Almaty. The main focus of the author is on reflection on the global transformation in the example of the city of New York.
What I'm going to be doing is looking at a number of hinges, I would say, in time. Things that affected the direction of civilization. Some of them are physically crucial to cities, like elevators or the transatlantic cable, communications, trains. Trains radically changed how people could gather together.
According to the thinker and artist, he pursues an important goal while speaking around the world on this topic.
Broaden the spectrum, broaden the sense of how people understand transformation. Because I think that's our best hope for surviving the transformation of the next 500 years. Our best hope is if we expand how we recognize it, how we even measure it. Because if we don't start to expand how we can measure transformation, it's going to be very difficult to actually contribute to it in ways that are not going to cause disasters.
David Gersten is the founder of an artistic and educational company that promotes the exchange between different disciplines: architecture, visual and theatrical art, cinema, humanities, and social sciences.
Люди хотят слушать,
People want to listen, to learn and share their opinions. It's wonderful. We say it's a lecture, but it's not just a lecture, but also a discussion. After the speech of our speaker, we always hold Q&A session in order to get some feedback.
получить какую-то обратную связь.
At the same time, the organizers of this event do not pursue educational goals. They create a platform for dialogue with the assistance of both the American and Kazakhstan sides.